Welcome to the Growth Lab, the podcast dedicated to the business of beauty and vitality. Today, we are sitting down with Gary Miller, the distributor of Human Charger. It's an amazing product that does cognitive recharging. Let's find out more. This episode is brought to you by MedSpa Accelerator. We help medical practices and med spas solve the bottleneck of inconsistent, unqualified patient leads to achieve a predictable, scalable monthly revenue without staff burnout. We are thrilled to have Gary join us today to discuss the future of patient care and his unique device. Let's get started. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing well, Jason. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to dive into your story, Gary. I like to frame these conversations simply past, present, and future. So I want to start with your origin story and how you got into this demanding and rewarding industry. And then I want to go ahead and pivot to the present reality, which is what's working and, what's causing friction, what's keeping those doors open. And then finally, I want to look at the future outlook in the next 3 to 5 years and the biggest strategic moves that you're planning. That way, we'll be able to cover full spectrum of building out a successful business. Does that sound like a good roadmap?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, it looks like that. Well, you did develop the Human Charger about 2 years ago. Is that right?
I'm the U.S. distributor for the Human Charger.
Okay.
My wife and I actually, I guess we did discover it, but we were on a ski trip in Austria, and a former business colleague of mine from Germany introduced me to his friend, who is one of the owners of the Human Charger. And we knew nothing about the device, or at least I didn't know much about the science of bright light and circadian rhythm. As my background as a ski racer, and an Olympic team coach and an entrepreneur. I mean, I've traveled all over the world, suffered jet lag like everybody else does.
Yeah.
And have seen, have had phenomenal athletes that could have benefited from a tool like this. But we were really intrigued, and it was really my wife who was suffering a little bit from depression and anxiety. And this guy gave us a couple samples, and between myself and my wife and a doctor friend of ours from Denver who has a wellness clinic, he and his wife, it didn't take us more than 2 weeks. And we knew, wow, this was really different. We hadn't seen
Wow.
anything like it. And if I could go into a little bit the origin of this.
Yes, please do. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah. I was going to just go into what gave you the inspiration, but it sounds like that was the inspiration, right? Is really discovering it.
Yeah, well, the discovery is interesting. Like I said, my wife was the one who is really, she struggled with this, with a little bit of this winter depression. And I'm a little bit different as a professional athlete and coach. I mean, I'm a ready, set, go kind of guy. I wake up in the morning and I'm charging, right? But seeing and talking about the science behind this, I could see where it could really benefit athletes more than trying the dangerous route of supplements that maybe are tainted or whatever. So after about 2 weeks, we knew we were onto something, and we took distribution for the U.S. because it had never been seen in the U.S. The Human Charger was developed as an offshoot of Nokia. Remember the phone company?
Yeah.
Everybody had a Nokia phone until Apple showed up, and then
And that was it.
That was it, right? And so there was an engineer and a scientist from Nokia that broke away, and Nokia's out of Finland, and Finland has dark, gloomy winters. And they were like, hey, let's come up with something better than the sad lamp, which is what everyone stares into for an hour to get rid of seasonal depression. And they said, we can do better. So they did their experiments, and they found that transcranial bright light, which is bright light through your ear canal, is much faster to the hypothalamus, which controls your hormones, than if you're staring at a bright light lamp with your eyes, which isn't all that fun anyway, for an hour. They figured they could do it in 12 minutes. So they built this clever little headset that's looks like a JVC, the old JVC microphone headset that you could put around your neck. Push the button, it's 10,000 lux of bright light into your ears. Wait 12 minutes, it automatically shuts off. That's enough light to alter your circadian rhythm.
Okay. Well, Gary, what is transcranial light simulation and how does it differ from looking at a traditional light box?
Good question. So if you're looking at a traditional light box, okay, the light reacts with a protein, in your eyes, in your retina. They call them opsins. And it takes a while for that to affect your hormones. It will help, but not everyone has time to sit and stare at a lamp for an hour. And that's really the only way you can get an effective amount of light. And these are days that are cloudy and gloomy, and it's different if you walk outside and you can look at the sun for 5-10 minutes and you'll get enough light to really activate your circadian rhythm. But in the dark winters, not even dark, just gloomy winters where on a bright sunny day, you get 100,000 lux of light. On a cloudy day, you might get 1,200 lux of light. That's just not enough. So there's a big difference, right?
Okay.
So, and by doing it through your ear canals, which the eardrum is translucent, your bone structure around your ear is very thin. So the light penetrated faster through, they call it transcranially because it goes through your cranium, than it does if it's got to travel through your eyes, your optic nerve, and such and so forth. So
Okay.
they just found it to be more effective.
And that was actually my next question, Gary. I wanted to know how is delivered through the ears affect photosensitive proteins on the brain? I don't know if you were getting to that, but yeah, how does that affect those proteins?
I don't know the scientific process of that. I know it activates them. It activates them much faster.
Okay.
And that's why they came up with this, because they were getting to an age when, 10 years ago is not like it was 40 years ago. We were in that digital age. And of course, when Apple came out with the iPhone and followed by Samsung and others, that's when all of a sudden our bodies are being affected by blue light constantly everywhere. It had to have something that would balance that out. And they did a lot of studies. There were a lot of studies done on this at the University of Oulu in Helsinki.
Okay. Okay, great. Beyond mood improvement, what specific cognitive or athletic performance boosts does the human charger provide?
This is the one that intrigued me the most, okay? Because in the skiing world, yeah, it's great when you have a sunny day. Everything's clear and crisp. You're feeling good. Your reaction time is great. But man, you get a cloudy, snowy day and you don't get as much light. Your mood isn't as good. Your reaction time isn't as good. And I started thinking about this and I'm going, wow, man, my ski racers could really benefit for something like this. And so I dove into the science on that side of it and found out that the two guys from Nokia that did the experiments, they took the Finnish hockey teams, which in an arena is about 1,200 lux of light. So the light was lower, and they found out that their psychomotor speed was sped up, which is their reaction time. And I thought, okay, that's what I was looking for. Because in the ski racing world, on a second run, cloudy day, even snowing a bit, you're not going to have the light you need to have the reaction time that you want if you're racing in a slalom course or something. So to me, it was unnatural. So I started experimenting with just my morning workouts and finding that, yes, I had more reaction time when I was using the human charger versus not.
Okay, that's great. That in and of itself makes me want to get one. How much does the device cost, Gary?
They retail for $179. It was interesting because people look at that and they go, oh, it's almost $200. But then again, think about your next 3 months. You're tired in the afternoon, so you go down to Starbucks. How much you popping for a coffee? $6 or a Red Bull or any kind of a energy drink. And you
Yeah.
do that every day, 7 days a week, for a
Yeah.
month or two. And all of a sudden, that 179 doesn't seem like so much.
And you know what? Beyond the cost comparison, Gary, that I really like about the device is that you're not putting really anything foreign into the body but light. Really, that's it.
And in the athletic world, Jason, maybe not as much in the regular world, but in the athletic world, that's key. Because
Yeah.
if you're an elite athlete, and especially in the minor sports maybe not as much in the NFL, excuse me, or the Major League Baseball or NBA or something. But if you're on the podium, you're going to pee in a cup before you get that medal. And that's the way it is. And if you've got something that you've been taking that isn't what you should be taking, it's a bad situation. It happened to the pro tennis player Iga Swiatek from Poland. She took melatonin last year, just melatonin. And it was
Melatonin.
yeah, and it was tainted. So it ended up in a drug test. Then she's got to hire all the attorneys to fight the World Anti-Doping Association, the WADA, and it took months. And she was worried that she'd get banned for months. No,
And did she?
anything holistic is much better than anything that's
Absolutely. 100% agree. Yeah. I digress. Has there been any studies done on the device so far? Any sort of FDA approval in any types of scientific studies at all? Yeah.
yes, there've been a lot of studies, and I'll send you a list,
Okay.
because I think you'd be really surprised. No, it's been in existence for over a decade. It's just been hiding in Europe. I mean, this is the odd thing. When we found that it'd been hiding over here and how good it was, we're like, "Oh my god, we haven't even talked about jet lag or shift work." It's mind-boggling. I've been traveling the world since I was 15 years old, and I've had jet lag going to Asia, I've had jet lag going to Europe. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah.
This is a game changer. It's crazy. So there's studies on ADHD, there's studies on PTSD, there's studies on jet lag. There's so many categories, it's almost hard to list it. I think that the list of studies is like almost 3 pages.
Is there some of those studies on the website on humancharger.us?
Yes, there are some that are there. You can
Okay.
access those in the studies. I mean, it's good that they studies. Now, when you bring up the FDA, so the beauty of bright light is it doesn't need to be, it's not a medical device. It doesn't have to be classified as a medical device. It's
Okay.
just light.
It's just light. Yeah,
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's just a faster delivery system of getting that light from the sun to your brain.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into jet lag, okay? So jet lag, jet travel came pretty quickly, right? I mean, it didn't take very many years. And like any animal, human beings evolve. We've all gotten a little bit better over time, but in our lifespans, we really don't notice a lot of that change, okay? But essentially, our bodies are running 21st century hard or software, okay, on a 1,000-year-old operating system. We can't fly over 6 time zones and expect to feel normal. It just doesn't happen. So that's why you feel crappy for 3 days. So with the human charger, all you're doing is if you fly from Chicago to Munich, for example, or you flew from LA to Sydney or Singapore, okay, you're going to, when you arrive, and if you arrive in the morning, you're going to use the human charger once every 2 hours, 4 to 5 times the first 2 days. And all that's doing is resetting your circadian rhythm to the time. It's giving you an additional boost of light multiple times to advance your biological clock to match where you are. And it's blown our minds because they never really focused on it. Human Charger Company in Finland, which is now in Denmark, they never really focused on it much. And we've got people out there now that are using it and they just swear by it. They're like, oh my God, where has this thing been?
Well, you've got me excited about the product, Gary. That's for sure. I'm going to have to get myself one. What's the biggest goal of the business in 2026 in this calendar year?
The biggest goal would be education. Okay.
Education,
Yeah.
getting the word out.
Getting the word out about light therapy for your circadian rhythm. We got a big problem in America. I mean, the healthcare system is not the greatest, and right, and everyone thinks that you can pop a pill and that's going to solve your problem. This is a natural product, easy to use, and we've got 80% of our kids are depressed, and the reason why they're depressed is because they're using these mobile phones all the time. They're
Yeah.
constantly in their face. And of course, if we go back, I mean, I'm a lot older than you are. You're a young guy compared to me. But, we used to wake up with the sun. We'd go to bed at night when it got dark, and that was your circadian rhythm. It operated naturally. It was just fine. Now all of a sudden you add all the blue screens and then, kids will be staring at a computer at school, then they're out after school and they're looking at their phones, then they go home, they're still on their phones. They're not. Maybe they go to a football practice or something else, and then they come home and then they go to bed and they spend the next hour under the sheets with their phones. Then they wonder why they're only getting 5 hours of sleep a night, and they wonder why they're tired, and it's just bad. And then they're depressed, and then social media takes over, and then that can be pretty miserable in itself. So there has to be something natural that these kids can use counteract the bad light they're getting.
Yeah,
And that's what the human charger can do. It can offset that.
I see.
It can
Okay.
offset that. Okay. And obviously, parents got to be better. Parents have to have a little discipline. They have to be able to say, hey,
Restrict that phone time.
yeah, we used to do it at meal times. We had a basket, and nobody could show up at the dinner table with their phone, and nobody could take a call during dinner time with the phone. And that's the way it was. And parents have to be better about that. And kids, it's hard. Kids are trying to be into athletics or into the arts, but they're struggling. They're struggling really hard.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that perspective. I know our audience really does do appreciate it. Now, we've spoken a little bit more about the education. We've talked a little bit about the benefits of the product, and we know that your goal this year is education. Do you have a sales goal this year?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's an odd product in a lot of ways because you need the education. You need to convince people that it's their circadian rhythm that's causing their malady, that they don't there's the reason why they don't feel good, why they're tired all the time, why they aren't sleeping
Yeah.
right. So we got to convince them first. I know that if we convince them that the sales will come. And we do really well in the sad season. That's at October through March. That's when people they buy the human charger because they feel so miserable. And now what we're trying to do is shift into the jet lag market because you get into summer travel and everyone wants to go. They want to go to Europe for vacation, or they want to go to Japan, or you get that. And we're not focusing on sales, focusing on education and market penetration. And if we can take an industry, whether it's a warehouse for Amazon, okay, where people are working 24/7. Our world is different now.
Would you say that maybe the pharmaceutical industry is one of your competitors then?
Well, definitely in the US, it's
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a competitor because there's nothing you can really fix with a drug to do what light does. Eventually, it's going to catch up with you. I mean, look at the pharma industry alone in America. Okay, every night on TV, you're going to see an ad for something, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, you're
and
feeling this way? Take this drug. You're
take
feeling
this
this
right.
way? Take this drug. Yeah.
What do you see the next morning? Well, if you took that drug, this is ABC law firm, and you might be able to get some compensation for that that drug and feeling sick or getting ill or whatever. So it's this vicious cycle, and it's like, really, you want to do that? That isn't going to help you. I guess you could look at them as being a competitor, but not really. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely understandable. With the education, putting that aside, I want to talk a little bit more about where the strain and the chaos is showing up. Tell me a little bit more about some of the challenges that you're facing currently right now, other than the education.
I think it goes back to what we were just talking about with we're trying to get market penetration. We're doing a lot of testing. Okay. We need to get into places that go, "Oh, yeah, that works for us." Okay? We had our first test this year with the San Francisco 49ers. We
Okay.
got them a dozen units. Mac Jones loved it. They flew to London for a game and used it. We developed a protocol for them. The NFL wants 16 games overseas in 5 years. That's not slowing up. The collegiate, with all the conference realignments, they're flying all over the place. It's crazy. So the challenge is getting into one place, because once you get into one place, and if you got one team using it, the other team's going to go, "What's that? I got to have that." Nobody wants to be upped.
Snowball effect.
It's a
right?
snowball effect. Yeah. So we're being really selective. The medical industry is a little bit of a challenge because of all the regulations and the bureaucracy.
What about retail outlets? Are you looking to get into retail outlets? Like maybe Sharper Image, something like that?
It's a good question, Jason, but no. And there's a simple reason behind that. Because of the education, because people don't really know what it is, and I think the only way that you could possibly do it that way would be to have really deep pockets. Spend millions of dollars on TV ads at prime time to explain what it is, and someone would go, "Oh yeah, that's great, but are you going to recoup that 5 million in ad spend on TV by selling enough human chargers? I don't know." And I don't
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole that opens up a whole 'nother can of worms. But on the retail side, in order for we looked at it initially and we ruled it out because with the retail side, you have to package it completely different. And if it was to go in fact, this group that we had talked about, they sell to a lot of pharmacies, and you'd have to have display with a human charger so someone could push the button, lights would go on, and if someone had a question, somebody in that place has to be educated enough to know, well, yes, this is what it does. The retail market's brutal. And when we
Yeah.
looked at what it would cost for returns and redoing the packaging and putting up, POP displays, and we just went, no, it's not going to happen. Now, that's not to say that in the future, yes, when people are really become educated about the human charger, sure,
And maybe that'll be a byproduct of NFL adoption, Gary.
could be, could be. It could be where that is a if the NFL embraces it, and we do have now a couple connections to do that, um, and you did it in a custom color for every team. I mean, the merchandising alone there would be fantastic. But that those are all pretty far down the line. Uh, and our goal is really if we help enough people, the sales will come.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hey, do you have a demo of the device you could show us right now?
Yes, I do. It comes in a little pouch like this. And this is about as simple as it gets. It looks a little bit like if people remember the old JVC kind of around the neck headset.
Yeah, it looks like a Bluetooth headset.
Yeah, like a
I'm
Bluetooth.
sorry,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Motorola, it looks exactly like that.
Right. And it's got two earbuds that are wired. It's got a button. Turn it on. You've got 10,000 lux bright light, goes right in the ears. You might feel a little warmth, but you don't feel anything weird. It only runs for 12 minutes, then it automatically shuts off. So, like when I get up in the morning and I go through my routine, I just put it on, hit the button, look at the clock. Okay, it's 8:30, and then 12 minutes later, it's going to be shut off. And then I look at the clock and it's 8:45. Okay, it's off. And I just take it out, put it back in its pouch. It's basically there's a little lithium ion battery in there.
Okay.
Got a little LED bulb
Does it
similar to what it
charge
would
USB-C or how does that charge?
USB-C. There's a little port on the bottom. Pull a little plug out. You pop that. Got a little port in there.
How many cycles before it needs to be recharged?
It'll go for about if you use it once a day, could go almost a month. If you use it a couple
Okay.
times a day, it could go 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really efficient. We've got people that have had them for 6, 7 years, and they just keep chugging along.
Wow. Well, that has
They're
been a fantastic, fantastic breakdown, Gary. And thank you for being so candid about the product and the operational reality. And I can definitely understand where you're at and what cycle you're in right now with it. And it really does come down to education. I think we've covered a lot of ground today from your origin story to the future of this groundbreaking device. And I'm personally going to go ahead and buy one right now. And the website is humancharger.us. We're going to leave a link in the description below. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the recorded portion of the Growth Lab.